Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So it is Tuesday, which means it's time for our weekly tier list Tuesday. And I thought, considering we're now like 2 months into the season, almost like a third of the way through the season, and I like to do these tier lists on the entire NHL once we get like per month, what the overall landscape of the NHL is. Who's the cup favorites? Who's safely going to be making the playoffs? Who's going to be battling for a playoff spot? Who's going to be absolutely tanking it up? So here are the different tiers. I'm still a little bit sick. If you're asking why my voice is a little bit raspy. We got cup favorites. This is only going to be like 3, 4, maybe even 5 teams. Serious threats. These teams would not shock me if they end up making a pretty deep run. Safe playoffs. They're going to make the playoffs. Do I think that they're going to make a conference finals, a cup finals? I'd say it's pretty unlikely. Despite their early regular season success, we got the wild card hunt. This is teams that are going to be battling for a playoff spot. In the case of the Atlantic, there might be a team that's like finished third in the Atlantic, but it's still like wild card hunt. They're going to be between 85 to 100 points, I'd say. Aggressively, meh. I don't really see it being realistic that these teams end up making the playoffs. And then Tank City, they're genuinely going to be battling for a top 4 pick in this year's draft, where there is a pretty clear top 4. Up first, the Edmonton Oilers. I'm still putting them in cup favorite. I know I might get called crazy for that. I understand that the goaltending is a pretty decent concern with this team, but I still think they're a cup favorite. I still think that they have, since their 0-3 start, have mostly looked the part of a cup favorite outside of some Stuart Skinner absolute shitty performances. I think they're starting to find their groove. Maybe they go out and acquire some type of goaltender or just another maybe second pair right-handed defenseman. But besides that, this team's still a cup favorite. This team went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals and are arguably as good, if not better, this season. Utah, aggressively meh. I don't think they're going to be making the playoffs, especially in the Western Conference. They're probably going to be like 82 to 85 points at this point. I'm not really that high on them. It's mainly the injuries that have really done them in, especially with their defense core, Sean Durzi and John Marino. As a result, they're just not that much of a threat. The Boston Bruins, definitely a wild card hunt team since firing Montgomery. They've been playing pretty solid. I don't think that they're a safe playoff team. You definitely cannot say that they're a safe playoff team considering they're hovering around 500 right now, but they should be a wild card hunt team. I think that they're probably going to get in. Vancouver Canucks, until we see JT Miller return, until we see Thatcher Demko play some games, I'm just going to put them in safe playoffs. I think that they probably will move up to serious threats once those two guys kind of get resolved what they're going through right now. But until then, and also with Philip Hronek out, maybe they go out and acquire a defenseman. Safe playoffs, and not quite a serious threat right now. I think that's a fair assessment. The Montreal Canadiens, they're definitely Tank City. They have not taken that next step, although Laine is coming back tonight, which is very exciting. They're still pretty much a safe bet to finish as a bottom 8 team in the entire NHL, and rightfully so. They're going to add another elite prospect and then hopefully take that next step. I know it was supposed to kind of happen this year, but not some massive step. If they get 78 points, that'd be a pretty successful season for the Montreal Canadiens. San Jose Sharks, also Tank City here. They're a fun team, though. They're pretty electric. The last 2 to 3 weeks, they have been playing with a lot of offensive firepower. Hopefully that continues. But yeah, they're going to end up being a bottom 5 team, most likely still. Buffalo, wild card hunt. There was a stretch there like a week or two ago where they were in a playoff spot. They were in that last wild card spot. I personally don't think that they make it, but they're definitely looking like the team that more so that they were in 2023 compared to 2024. And as a result, they're going to be battling for a playoff spot throughout the season. Carolina, I'm going to go with serious threats right now. They're definitely teetering on cup favorite. They're playing very good hockey. Martin Necas has been fantastic, but right now I'm just going to go with serious threats. I kind of want to put them in cup favorite though, but we always see them they always play so good in the regular season and then shit the bed because their style of hockey is a little bit different than what usually wins. LA Kings, safe playoffs. When looking at it, how they've been through without Drew Doughty, they're probably going to make the playoffs, but they're not a real serious threat considering their lack of star power. And there's big question marks in net with David Riddick and Darcy Kemper. St. Louis Blues, aggressively mad. They're one of the most mid teams in the entire NHL. I think that's pretty fair. They got Robert Thomas back from injury, but that's really not going to change much on them. Ottawa, I am optimistic on Ottawa a little bit still. Wild card hunt, I don't have them in the playoffs if you watch my playoff percentage videos, but they're still in the mix. Seattle, about as aggressively mid below average as you're going to get in the entire NHL. Outside of Joey Decord, they really don't have any true game. Well, Jared McCann's also been very good, but goaltending is their clear strength right now. Their forward core is meh. Defense core, pretty meh. it's just not working out for Seattle Crack. I think that they probably should fire Ron Francis relatively soon. Colorado, I'm going to go with serious threat. I know what the Canucks fans are screaming at me right now. They don't have a goalie. And yes, I don't think Scott Wedgwood is the answer for Colorado, but I still think that this team is just so dangerous when it comes playoff time. As long as they can get at least okay goaltending. Georgiev didn't even play good last year, and they made Game 6 of the second round. They're still a serious threat. Their forwards are now fully clicking. If they don't do anything else in goal and walk into the playoffs with Georgiev and Wedgwood, I would bump them down outside of a serious threat. I think they lose in the first or second round again, but I think that some change is coming, especially if Wedgwood, which I don't think is the answer, ends up not being the answer. Florida Panthers, not playing amazing hockey right now, but this is your defending Stanley Cup champion that also made the Stanley Cup in 2023. They're still probably the safest bet to potentially make the Stanley Cup final in the entire NHL. Winnipeg, I've talked about this before in my Contenders or Pretenders video. They're not like complete pretenders. It wouldn't shock me if they won a round or two, but I think people just overinflated this team after the start. They were playing amazing, but their power play was also clicking at like 42%. Hellebuck was playing at like a 936 rate. They had a great start, but this team is just an above average team in my opinion. Outside of the power play, they really don't do much at an elite level. They have a lot of depth, but I still think that they lack the actual star power to be a serious contender in the West. Tampa Bay, wild card hunt probably. Right now, they're probably the pick to be the third team in the Atlantic Division right now, but I'm still going to put them in wild card hunt. That's what I was referring to earlier before. Probably should be a playoff team, but definitely not safe at this point. There's a decent chance considering if these teams start to really pick it up, Tampa could potentially miss. So I think they're in wild card hunt as of right now. Detroit, aggressively meh. I think I faked out nobody by putting them in safe playoffs there. They're just not it in terms of being a playoff team this year. Maybe next year when some of their young guys take another step. But right now, no. Capitals, you could make a strong argument for serious threat. I will definitely hear you out. They're playing like a serious threat right now. I'm still going to go with safe playoffs. No shocker here. I like Carolina more. I like New Jersey more. We're going to get to relatively soon. More in the Metro Division. But yeah, they're definitely safe playoffs. It wouldn't shock me if they beat one of those teams right now they wouldn't even play one of those teams in the first round. It wouldn't shock me, I guess, if they made the Eastern Conference Finals. But I still don't think a serious, deep, long-term Stanley Cup run threat. New Jersey, I am going to put them in serious threat. I'm going to put them in cup favorite, actually. I think New Jersey is really starting to find their game. They absolutely dominated the Rangers, which I know is not saying much last night. But yeah, this team doesn't really have a weakness. Markstrom, I think he's going to play better. He hasn't even been that good. Jake Allen's been exceptional to start on. I think that this team is shaping up to be a cup favorite. I know I might end up sounding silly because of that. But yeah, I would put them roughly in the same ilk as the Florida Panthers or Edmonton Oilers. Pittsburgh might be in Tank City relatively soon. I'm still going to go with aggressively mad. They still have an okay roster talent. If they end up trading guys, yeah, they'd go in Tank City. But right now, just aggressively meh. Toronto, serious threats. I've been pretty high on this team coming into the season. The goaltending tandem has really knocked it out of the park to start. The defense additions of Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Chris Tanev have kind of been home runs thus far, at least early on. I think they're a serious threat in the Eastern Conference. I think that they're definitely ahead of Boston and Tampa Bay right now in terms of the Atlantic Division. Well, I picked them to easily beat those two teams in the series. So as a result, serious threats. Vegas Golden Knights, I'm going to go with safe playoffs. The defensive numbers have been pretty concerning with this team. They're like bottom 10 in the entire NHL expected goals against per 60. So that does scare me a little bit. Aiden Hill is a little bit shaky in net right now. So as a result, I'm going to go with safe playoffs. I still doubt their forward depth a little bit, but they have a bunch of playoff experience. It wouldn't shock me if they went on some type of run, but I think I'd pick, assuming Vancouver, their guys get back on track, I'd pick Vancouver over Vegas, as well as obviously Edmonton. Philadelphia Flyers, dude, they are in the wild card hunt right now, but I'm going to put them in aggressively mad. They're too inconsistent. The goalie tandem is playing fantastic right now, but I don't know how sustainable that is. Yeah, I think that they're going to fall out yet again like last year, but not even have that great start, so they're going to fall out and be even worse than last season. Still pretty low on them. Columbus, I'm going to go with aggressively mad. They're playing actually pretty solid hockey right now where I can't fully throw them in Tank City. They're like hovering around 500 right now. Werenski has been arguably the second, maybe even the best defenseman in the entire NHL. So as a result, yeah, they really I think Dean Evison is like, he's not going to get any votes because they're not going to sniff the playoffs, but like he might end up on my Jack Adams just because you thought that this team was going to be a surefire bottom 3 team in the entire NHL, and they've been pretty impressive. Calgary, aggressively, man, they're quickly falling out of the wild card hunt in the Western Conference, and I expect them to just continue to fall and finish around 80-ish points. New York Rangers. You got to go wild card hunt at this point, considering they've lost 6 of their last 7, and it has just been ugly. It's not like they're losing these games close and getting unlucky and decent marks. They've been outplayed for a lot of it, and their one win is against the Montreal Canadiens. It's not some good galvanizing win. They're fully a wild card, and you look at their schedule. I posted it on my Instagram. They have like an extremely hard schedule coming up relatively soon. They're in the wild card hunt. They're definitely in the wild card hunt as of right now until anything changes or anything with the teams relatively change. Anaheim keeps on winning games. I don't think they're that good of a team, though. Coached by Craig Cronin, I think that they're going to fall out relatively soon and start hitting the bottom. I have the over of 72.5 points, so I hope that this doesn't happen. But yeah, I think they're going to eventually start to slow down. The Dallas Stars, I got them at a cup favorites. I thought they were a top 4 cup favorite heading into the season. They're still a serious threat just because they are so deep and they don't really have any identifiable weaknesses outside of maybe the right side of their defense, the right-handed defenseman. But yeah, considering Robertson, Hintz, Johnston have not really shown up like we thought, they're not a cup favorite. I would pick Edmonton to beat them. Colorado with an actual goalie, I'd pick them to beat the Dallas Stars. And if Vancouver gets on track, I would maybe even pick them in a playoff series. My New York Islanders, even though they're losing a shit ton of games, blowing leads, they're still in the wild card hunt. If they can hold down a third period lead, I think they'll probably end up making the wild card. But I have no indication under Patrick Roy the past 11 months that he's actually going to short things up, but they're definitely in the hunt. They're going to be around 87 to 94 points, most likely. Nashville, you kind of just got to accept what they are at this point. They're not that good of a team. They're probably not going to end up making the playoffs. They're old. They're relatively slow. They have been extremely unlucky at 5-on-5. They're not as bad as the numbers indicate, but yeah, they're pretty aggressively mesh. Chicago, not Columbus. Chicago, definitely tank city. I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Richardson's name starts getting floated out as potentially getting fired. Connor Bedard's playing better of late, but nobody is really having that good of a season on Chicago right now. It has not been good. They are tanking yet again. And then Minnesota, I'm going to go with serious threat. I was very high on this Minnesota team coming into the season. They're definitely closer to safe playoffs than serious threat right now, but they have that superstar in Kaprizov. They have the 3-headed monster in terms of their defensemen. Gustafsson looks like he's a legit top 12-ish goalie in the NHL, probably going to be within my top 12. And yeah, they have other pretty damn good forwards, even though Zuccarello is now on LTIR. And Boldy, Zuccarello, Ek, Rossi. They definitely need to go out and acquire some type of middle 6 forward to bolster their forward core. The bottom 6 is a little bit shaky, but I think that they are a serious threat in the Western Conference, especially in the Central Division when you have Dallas and Colorado kind of struggling right now. I would not be surprised if they came out of the Central Division right now. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this tier list? Who would you move up? Who would you move down? I'll be seeing you in the next one. Peace.